Hello. Today we are going to discuss about structural patterns. Structural patterns, they describe how to organize design components uh, according to certain requirements. So previous case we discussed about creational patterns, which addresses the issues of creating objects according to the requirement. So the second type we are going to discuss today is structural patterns. So this describes how to organize design components or classes to meet certain requirements. Under this category, the first pattern we are going to discuss is proxy pattern. So proxy pattern, I will draw a small diagram here. Let's say we have the user or the client. So client is accessing one entity in the real world. Want to access this thing, but the direct access should not be allowed because of certain situations. But we can give the access to the features of this object by creating a proxy. So this is the real entity and this is the proxy. Through the proxy, the client or the user can get access to certain features of the proxy, the real entity. So this thing is called real subject and this thing is proxy subject. The direct access is not allowed because the user is not allowed to access all the features, or the client is not allowed to access all the features, but only certain features can be accessed through the proxy. The obvious real world example we can see is proxy server. So there internet access is provided through a proxy server. Only allowed content can be used by the clients or the users, but not all the things. So in the proxy pattern, we have several types of proxy patterns depending on the role of the proxy. We can identify many types like access control proxies, remote proxies, virtual proxies. Likewise, I'm not going to discuss about all the types here, but I will show a general example about how to implement the proxy pattern. Okay, so when we have proxy pattern, I will take a real world example as a bank account. When we identify the bank account, we identify all the attributes and methods we need in a bank account and create an abstract class. So this is called account class, which is an abstract class. Okay, I write here abstract class. Why do we use an abstract class here? Because we just identify the attributes and methods of a bank account, but do not implement them at this stage. But later stages we implement them. So how do we implement them? It's like we extend this abstract account class into two classes. So one class is the real bank account or the real entity. Let's name it as C account, giving the meaning current account. So this is the real subject. So all the methods, all the abstract methods we have in this account class will be implemented in this C account class. The full implementation is there. And the other subject is the proxy class of this account. Let's name it as proxy. So this is the proxy account. So in here also we have to implement all the abstract methods we identify here in the abstract account class, but the features are kind of limited. Every real feature is implemented in this account class, C account class, but in the proxy class, certain things are exactly same as the account class, but certain things are restricted. So that's a proxy. And we have the client class or the driver class here. So client is accessing the proxy and get the feeling of like accessing certain features of the real account class, but when he tries to access certain other features, he cannot get the full access. Okay. So this is the general structure of this class, and I will write just the method names here and then show you the implementation. So here let's identify there are three abstract methods we have. One is get balance, the other one is deposit, and the other one is create account. So these are abstract methods we identify in the abstract account class. And when we come to our C account class, the real subject, we implement this thing in full implementation is there. And to deposit, yes, we have the full implementation, and create account, we have the full implementation of that feature. But let's say according to the bank, the user or the client cannot directly create account. Instead, he has to get help from the banking officer, and through the banking officer, the account will be created in the system. But he can deposit and get balance at any time he wants. So when we go to the implementation of this proxy class, get balance, he will be given the access to the method implemented in this class. He can directly access this method. And deposit can directly access to the full implementation we have given in this C account class, the real subject. And to the create feature, he's not getting the access through this. So this will give different implementation. Different implementation. Different implementation restricting the access to this feature. The full implementation we have here. So client is accessing the proxy when he wants to access the bank account. But all the full features can be accessed through banking officer, who will be having the privilege to create objects from this class. Okay, so let's look at the implementation now. First, I create the class, write the implementation of the abstract class account. Public abstract class account. So there you can see we can put three variables. We give protected access control to that, long account number, and the other one protected means we can access from the same package, string name, and the other thing is protected double balance. So these are the three variables, so the attributes we identify here, and the three methods we are identifying. One is public abstract double get balance, this method, it's abstract, and other one public abstract void is the return type, and deposit abstract method. We finish that like that. And the third one, public abstract, the type is account create. Okay, so these are the three methods, and we know when we have the banking system, the client can directly access to this method, get balance. He can get the balance, and he can directly deposit money, get access to this one. But create account, he doesn't have the privilege to access this method. So only an authorized officer of the bank can create an account. Okay, so we identify the features in an abstract class, then according to our requirement we arrange them in a way we want. So organize the components in a way we want according to the requirement. Okay, first let's look at the implementation of our public class C account extends account. So this is the real subject. So we give the full implementation of the account class in this subject. We have public C account. C account is the constructor method. There we have to pass the parameters, long account number A, string S, double D, B balance. Okay, then what we do is we assign the values A and O equals A, name equals S, and balance equals B. So we create the constructor method here. We override the default constructor, and in a way that we can assign values to these variables. Okay, this is the constructor method, and we have the first method, get balance, get val, public double get val. Their implementation is return balance. The balance will be returned, and the other method, public void deposit. There we have to pass a parameter double value AMT, the amount that we are going to deposit. So balance plus equal AMT. So amount will be added to the balance. Finally, this is special method to the class that is not giving the access to the client. We are going to implement that. That is public account create. How to create the account? So that is actually we are invoking this constructor method from here. So what we have to do is we have to first read the parameters A, S, and B. We read these parameters and assign them, or we invoke this constructor method passing the parameters we read. So we have to return C account, return a C account, or the object of this type, calling the constructor method that is C account, and we just pass the parameters we read here. I would say pass the parameters. Okay, so this is the implementation of the account class, the full implementation of the real entity. This is the abstract class, and this is the real subject from this thing. Everything is fully implemented. How to create account, and you can especially see here in this abstract class we have public abstract account create. The return type is account, and also we have that method here. And here what we are doing is we are returning a C account object. That is possible because account is the superclass, and superclass superclass object, we can assign C account object or the subclass object. So that is possible. So we are returning object from this account class, which is a subclass or class extended from this abstract class. Okay, now let's look at the implementation of our proxy class. Public class proxy that also extends account. That's a proxy class. So first we have to create an account object from C account class. C account A new C account. We call the default constructor and create an object from the C account class here. And then whenever we call the methods in the proxy, these methods, we refer to the real subjects implementation. So what we are doing is, when we call for public double get balance, get val, there what we do is we return a dot get val. Through this object we invoke the method, and public void deposit, there we have to pass the parameter double empty, and through the object, through this object, the object from the real subject, we invoke the method a dot deposit and we pass the parameter empty. Okay, now the special method comes, the method that we are not giving the access to the client. Public account create. So there what we do is we do not access that method through the create method of the real subject. What we do is we just print a message saying system.out.print. We just say you are not allowed. We just give the error message or the restriction. Okay, this is the implementation of the proxy class. Now let's look at how do we use this in the client. So in the client, public class client, so there in the client we have main method. Inside the main method we just give him instructions saying press 1 to create account. We just give the instructions, press 2 to check balance, and press 3 to deposit. Likewise, we give the instructions to the client and we read the user inputs user input either 1, 2 or 3, and then based on that we do the execution, or we work here. So what we do is we just create a proxy p equals new proxy. We are not creating the account uh, C account object, because client is only allowed to access the account through this proxy. So proxy object will be created, and if the choice is choice equals where the user input into a variable called choice, and there if the choice is 1, what we have to do is just create p dot create method, and he will get the error message saying you are not allowed. If the choice is 2, then he can the get balance method will be invoked, and he will get the privilege or the access accordingly. If the choice equals 3, p dot deposit will be invoked and client can access. So this is how the proxy pattern is implemented. The thing you have to understand is this is a structural pattern that describes how to organize the design components, or how to organize the classes to meet certain requirements. In this scenario, when we have a bank account scenario, when we have a bank account scenario, let's say in this requirement, the client is not allowed to use all the features of the account, but through a proxy, the features he has the access is limited. That's our requirement. But all the features we have to implement them, because somebody else is also using the features of the account class. So this is the implementation. We identify all the features and all the attributes and methods in an abstract class, and we extend that abstract class into two different classes. One is the proxy class. There we can limit uh, the access as we want, and C account class, which is the real subject. We implement everything fully. So client is accessing this account only through the proxy. He is not allowed to access account directly. So whenever he has access certain features here, the features will be invoked through the implementation of the real subject or the C account class. And whenever we want something to restrict, that thing will be implemented in this proxy class rather than giving access through the real subject. I think you can understand this proxy pattern well. I will talk about another structural pattern in another lecture. Thank you.